Welcome to the Business Vitality Podcast. My name is Catherine Cantey. I am the host and an executive coach. I work with teams, individuals, and leaders to help create measured leadership change. We do that using practical applications, and our clients are creating 100% measured results as seen by those around them. Not necessarily what I think or what they think, but what the other people are seeing. And they are being recognized for the hard work that they're doing. If you're interested in learning more about some of the work that we're doing, you can learn more at catherinecantey.com. I would love for you to subscribe to this show, to Business Vitality. This is my way to continue to pay it forward and share business best practices. Stay tuned and listen to the interview. Thanks for being here. Amy Cook, you are the founder of Stage Marketing and the Chief Marketing Officer at Simplex. You can be found on the web at stagemarketing.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here, Catherine.
I enjoyed our pre-chat, so
Me too.
This will be fun. Do you mind just kind of starting off and talking about stage marketing, kind of at a high level and what you do there? And then I can't help but notice you have the chief marketing role, so maybe you could just touch on both of these. And
Sure.
I would love just to be able to learn more and share that.
Well, thank you so much. You know, my career in marketing was something that I kind of accidentally fell into. So it was 2008, and my husband had just gotten this job with Lehman Brothers, and he was very excited about it. And 1 month later, Lehman Brothers went bankrupt, and Jeff lost his job. And so, you know, I had a PhD in organizational communication. I knew how to write, and I had all these little kids. And so I thought, well, we got to do something. Failure is not an option here. We have lots of people to feed. So I started, going out, and, Jeff was still working part-time, winding down some properties with Lehman. And so I started going out and asking people if I could do some writing jobs for them. And one thing led to another. And then we got a tax return, and it was a $10,000 tax return. And Jeff said to me, all right, Amy, we're going to play a game. Let's each take $5,000 and see who can make the most money. And so he put his in real estate investments, and I started Stage Marketing. And so everybody asked me who won. I won, and it was
Go, Amy.
It was wonderful. It's just been an incredible, wonderful ride for a long time. And so we actually have a new CEO now. And he is just absolutely fantastic. And so I am the Chief Marketing Officer at Simplex. And how that happened was Ryan Westwood was one of my clients, and I was helping him write Forbes articles for publication. And one day we went to lunch, and he asked me if I would like to come in-house and be his head of marketing. And we had just gotten Series A funding. I knew immediately that it was an amazing opportunity that I couldn't pass up. And so I said, absolutely. And I left the agency in very good hands. And then I went over full-time to Simplex and just had the most incredible experience. So Simplex was acquired 3 years later by a company called Infosys. And it was a $250 million acquisition. We had a crazy growth rate. And it's been an awesome experience to be part of a larger business now as part of Infosys. So that's just kind of my career story in a nutshell.
That is fantastic. I love how you guys took the money, you divvied it up, and you kind of had a game, and the game worked pretty well.
It did, thankfully, right?
Well, talking with you, I could tell it's going to work out. So you have a lot of talent.
Oh, thank you for saying that. It's a lot of hard work to build a business, as I'm sure you know from building your own business. And I just feel like, when you do what you love, though, it doesn't even feel like work. It just feels like it's pretty exciting. And like you, I have a mindset where I really want to provide value for people. And that's one of the reasons I was really excited to come on the show today, because of, that like abundance mindset that you have to try to, give to other people that information.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And so you talked about your growth, and it's pretty amazing. You had, and I have to share this number, you have a 3-year growth rate that
you were able to help lead, and it's 1,578% over 3 years. That is unbelievable.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations first. And second, as this ties into leadership and just business vitality, and how do you remain vital through all that? But my main question is, how do you hold others accountable and you're creating this 1,500% growth? Like, how do you hold people accountable during that entire time frame?
It really, it's so interesting. I learned a lot from Ryan, our CEO, when I was over at Simplus. He is masterful at this, being able to hold people accountable for their own departments and let go just enough, but still stay on top of it. And so I learned some tricks and tips from doing that, just to get real tactical and practical. One of the best ways that I found to hold your team accountable, but not be too tight on the reins, is to have them do a pretty detailed weekly recap of everything that they're doing. And they do that knowing that you're going to send it off to the CEO. So when I did that over at Simplus, each member of my team, first of all, you have to hire awesome people. And so I think if I have a superpower, it's that I hire awesome people. And I think that it really makes a huge difference to a culture and to, productivity. And if you're interested, there's a certain, type of person that I try to target to join our team. But you hire these awesome people who are very responsible, and then you get there. I had a web person and a social media person and a content person, and a project manager. And when all four of them would come together and give me what they have been doing in addition to what I had been doing, and you assemble it all together at the end of the week, it gives you a really good overview of everything that's going on in your organization, in your department. So you can know exactly what's going on down to the last detail. They put the links in their recaps, so you can drill down as far as you need to go. And then you can see very quickly if there are gaps in what what you're seeing in terms of your department. So that would happen a lot, where I would say, okay, we've got 90% of this covered, but I am missing something right here. What happened to our LinkedIn advertising? Did I forget to start that, or whatever? And so it gives you an opportunity to really understand your department. And then when you roll it up to the CEO, then you're being accountable to your own manager and holding your boss accountable to read your stuff, so they know what's going on too. And being able to manage up and manage down, I think, is a really interesting and important skill to learn.
Can you talk about the detailed weekly recap? I'm just curious. I've done something like that for myself in the past, and I found it very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? I guess I'm more of a visual person. What does that look like? Is it a one page, but you have the hyperlinks throughout that if they want to drill down, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so it's a good question. It depends on how, for me, I have found that executives don't like to click into attachments very often. So I would just put it in an email. I would label it, and I kept every one. So, and if anyone ever asked me, okay, what happened September 26, 2019, I could go back to that very quickly and be able to find it. But because most people will just scroll through an email on their phone, that's how I positioned it, and just had the links there in case people wanted to drill down. So then, when Ryan and I would do our monthly, he would oftentimes pull from that weekly recap and say, okay, tell me more about this. Tell me more about this. And it was a really great relationship that way, in terms of keeping each other accountable.
I think it's fantastic. I tried that while I had my corporate career, and I found, because there were so many things that were moving every single week, that if I used my calendar for time management, and then I would just highlight those key items that would bubble up. And then I would just kind of create them in a Word doc or something like that. And then I could easily move it into an email, just cut and paste. But I would have 12 months of things that we moved. And when it came to the year-end, review and anything along the way, it was a great way just to refer back to one single document that wasn't really overwhelming. And it allowed me to highlight some of those significant events that maybe we forgot about, because I feel like sometimes we just focus on what was the last big issue, and really we need to appreciate all the things that have happened over the course of the last 6 to 12 months.
I love that. And I think that perspective, that more broad perspective, which allows you to allows you to view the overall broad successes that you're having, it really helps to position what's really going on instead of maybe focusing on the latest fire that's happening, because we all have them, right?
Yeah. And then, if you got a week that, man, I didn't get anything done, you can at least go back and say, look, this is what is going on. And you can at least celebrate that, because sometimes we hit these lulls and we're like, if I get one more email from that person, I'm just, I don't know what I'm going to do, because they just wear you down. So to know you've got something to kind of lean back on to fuel you back up.
That's a really great point. When you talk about, how do you keep that emotional resilience going? That really does help, because like you said, sometimes when you're in the weeds, it feels like nothing is happening. It feels like you've sent 20 emails about one thing. And I've noticed this happens more now that we're, so my role currently at Infosys is I'm the global head of marketing for the Salesforce practice, which is, it includes, 10 different companies or 10 different countries in Europe, India, Philippines, Australia, and the US. And so being able to pull all of that together does take a lot more communication. And there are a lot of people who need to have their questions answered and need to be considered. And it's been really good for me to learn how to not be ethnocentric about things and to try to pull it all together. But it takes a ton of communication. And so sometimes when you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not making any progress, you can look back on that and you can say, no, we've made a lot of progress. Look at what we're doing now,
Yeah, it helps for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got to ask about your superpower, because this is what is always at the top of everyone's mind. How do you hire awesome people? And can you talk about your superpower? Because this sounds like the world needs this. So what can you share?
Well, I mean, maybe I'm a little bit too confident in my abilities to identify and hire good people, but I have a pretty good track record. And most of the people that I've hired have stayed for, very like a lot of years, and some over a decade. And I think that it's because they're awesome, not because of anything that I've done. But what I really appreciate about the people that I've hired are the ones that, so when we go to hire somebody, we have a diva free zone. So we always ask people, no matter how experienced they are, no matter how many decades they've had, to do a test project with us, to be tested on their skills. And there are many people who opt out and think that they're too good for that test project. But the people who are willing to do it, especially the ones who have quite a lot of experience, I know that they're going to be team players, and I know that they're confident enough in their own abilities to put their money where their mouth is. So that is the first thing that we do that really helps to filter out people who are fairly humble and confident at the same time. So I think that's a really great strategy. Another thing that we do is we provide a lot of flexibility for people. It's becoming really important to work with people's lives. And more people are recognizing the importance of working to live instead of living to work, right? And it's become really very easy to do that in a remote environment. When I founded Stage Marketing 13 years ago, we were remote, and we were relatively, progressive in that remote, in that remote business configuration. And one of the reasons for that is that I am a mom with kids, and I needed flexibility. And I also wanted to provide that as a company value for anyone who worked with me. So we developed a system where we could remotely work together on our own time, and we just implemented a time tracking system. So I would say, that test is a really important thing, but then also hiring hiring awesome women is the next big strategy. And we hire awesome men as well, and they're equally fabulous. But a lot of times women who need flexibility in their lives are not given the proper consideration, because people automatically assume, oh, well, they're going to be preoccupied with their kids. They're not going to be able to give it a full-time job. Oh, well, they need flexibility. They can't be here in the afternoon. So what are you going to do? So what I ended up doing was, I'm really grateful that Ryan gave me a shot, because what I ended up doing was, working while the kids were in school, taking a few hours off in the afternoon and going back to work at night. And so I was able to prove to him over time that, I was just as effective as any of his executives, even though I was in California, not Salt Lake City, and remote, and had 5 children. And I remember one day he asked me straight up, because he's just a straightforward guy. He was like, how are you going to do this? Like, you have 5 kids. And I was like, Ryan, you let me worry about that. I'll just crush it for you. And he trusted me, and I was really grateful for that opportunity. So that's the second place that I go, is just to hire really amazing people who want flexibility in their lives, and hiring awesome women who want a part-time gig or a full-time gig with some more flexibility is another strategy that I use a lot.
I think it's fantastic. I can relate. I was looking for someone to kind of help me, just kind of behind the scenes, just stuff that is taking up too much of my time. And I found a lady that had a group of other moms that just wanted some flexibility and work some hours. And she matched me up with some amazing talent. And I'm like, this is awesome. And so it's so funny, because sometimes I would get emails at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and I'd respond in the morning. I'm like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm just up with the baby. And this is, I can't do anything right now. And I'm like, well, this is odd. Like, she got everything done that I needed. It was fantastic. And even right now, like, we just, shoot each other a text. Hey, I'm doing this or whatever. And it's fantastic, because I'm able to move some stuff off my plate to somebody who wants the flexibility to be able to stay at home with her kids. She does amazing work. So, I mean, it's just a really, coming from a corporate background, they have a hard time, thinking about that flexibility and things. But, when you're out and you're able to redefine what this looks like now, I think it's really just amazing at the different types of support and being able to support other folks.
Yeah.
This way, I think, is important. So I think what you're saying is extremely valuable.
Oh, thank you. Well, it reminds me of what you just said, reminds me of Catherine on my team, who is just like the perfect example, right? So she's pregnant with her second, and she has always worked from home. And she and I oftentimes will pass like ships in the night, because I'm on Pacific time and she's on Eastern time. And so every once in a while, I'll be up late working, and I'll send a message, and she'll send me one right back, because she's up the next morning. And it's kind of funny to do that, but it's actually been really helpful, because especially with the India time and Europe time, the hours are variable depending on when people can make it. So I do think that that's a really great, that offering that flexibility is really great, but it has to be coupled, and this is the secret sauce, it has to be coupled with people who have the fire. If somebody is looking for a job that they can coast in or quiet quit in, we're not the right group, because we are very collaborative. There's no way someone could quiet quit on us without us knowing about it. There's like a 0% chance, because we're very highly collaborative as a marketing team. And so in order for you to let go and trust your remote group of people that they know what they're doing, you have to be able to identify in them that there's really a fire to do well, and there's a real sense of pride in their work. And I think you can identify that in people, and you can see what they're passionate about. And if you hire people who are really passionate about their work, the money is secondary. It's doing great work. It's creating, it's being able to produce something that they're proud of, that really drives people. And if you can find that, if you can find that, the three legs of the stool right there, where they're humble yet confident enough, and they're able to, be flexible, and they have that fire, then you've got a really great employee.
It sounds like you take it just a little bit deeper than maybe that what we've thought about in the past when we want to identify top talent. You're taking it deeper, and you're giving them a test, and you're just calling it out. There's a diva free zone here, and you need to test this to see if you're a good fit, which is actually genius, because you may get to the other side. They may have the solution. And you're just kind of like, oh, that just wasn't what I thought, which is beautiful, because then you have expectations and you have a way to get out, or either one.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and either one is a great point, because sometimes when people do a test project with us, we're not the right fit for them. They're looking maybe for a, like, let's go into the office and go hang out at the water cooler type of environment. And those environments are really great also. It's just not ours. And so doing that kind of thing is a really, that's a great point that you brought up about that, having it be a mutual fit.
Yeah. Clear expectations on the front end, for sure. Mixed with the flexibility, mixed with that fire that people have in their belly, and we know when we see it.
That's great.
That is awesome. Okay. So I love one of your quotes, that you help make complex things simple. And so I'm curious, as you think about that quote, how are you focused on the critical few to allow you to really drill into making these complex things simple? Because I've read about what Simplex is doing. I mean, it's not always, uber clear what you're doing. You're taking really hard stuff and making it simple for people to understand, which is what makes business successful. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. So, making complex things simple has been the mantra for Simplus ever since the beginning. And I love that mission, because it's something that's not real common. And I think it has so many different business applications. So in marketing, for example, so let's broaden it up a little bit to what Simplus does. So Simplus, we are the geek squad for Salesforce. We will go in and we'll help people understand their business environment, what kinds of tools they should be using and looking at, what kind of roadmap they should be looking at. And we'll take it from the business side. So we're not going to just try to sell them and implement some kind of technology that they don't need. We need to go look at all of their business KPIs first and help them optimize that. We implement an advisory strategy, and then we, we'll do the project work, and then hopefully follow up with some managed services at the end to help them keep their sales force running very smoothly and consistently. So that's how we make things more simple for a complex business environment. And then on the marketing side, making complex things simple is really the goal of marketing. If you think of marketing, it's pulling out some academic terms. The rhetorical situation for any kind of marketing project is to provide, the right message to the right audience at the right time. And many times, companies fail when they get too jargony for people, and they are trying to be too complex in their offerings, and they don't have a very good understanding of what their audience knows and what their buyers know. That happens a lot of times when people get too technical, when they're trying to speak to the business side of the organization, and they try to talk about like the how to implement something, when people want to know that you can do it, but what the business outcomes are going to be, right? So that's a really important part of marketing. It's also important to know that sometimes, if you try to talk down to people, also that's even worse than being too technical. And so really understanding your audience and making the complex things simple for them and helping them really solve their business problems is the essence of what we do.
Love it. I think it's fantastic. And it's an art, and not everybody has perfected it, which is, nothing but business opportunity for you, Amy.
Well, that's right.
I think
That's
it's
right.
fantastic.
Oh, funny.
Tell me a little bit, how are you, I'm curious, investing in yourself to continue to grow, to continue to do what you're doing and exceed all these, expectations and goals that I'm sure you have?
Well, I think one of the things that I find to be very important is I try not to, even though I hire a lot of really fantastic technical experts, I try not to ever ask somebody to do something that I wouldn't do myself, right? So even though I don't know how to code a website, I at least need to know, what I'm talking about enough to converse with these guys and be able to help set, the right expectations and understand how it all works. So trying to keep educating myself is really important. I like to, my most recent book that I read was called Amp It Up by Frank Slootman, who is the CEO of Snowflake. And then I'm also currently taking a business strategy certification course with Stanford. And so that's just kind of helping me stay competitive on the strategic side. So I'm also teaching a class at BYU Hawaii in entrepreneurship. And so that makes me stay sharp as well. So I think it's really easy when you get to be my age in my mid 40s and, to think, well, I'm kind of tired right now. I'd rather watch the Lord of the Rings new series, but I think it's really important to stay sharp and to not expect your team to do things that you wouldn't do yourself. So if you expect, continuing education out of your team, you have to keep doing it yourself. And that really is helpful for me in terms of, keeping everything pulled together on the business side. And then on the personal side, my kids are so great and so grounding for me because they will let they'll be like, hey, Mom, pull away, pull out, get out of your computer, and so being able to, for me, they really pull me out and make me be a person, and my husband as well. And for other people who either don't have children or are single, making sure that you block out time for yourself to be able to have, that full rounded perspective where you have good, where your physical and your mental and your emotional and your social lives are all balanced.
Have you found any tricks to doing that you want to share?
Hard. I mean, I was going to ask you the same thing, Catherine. Have you found any tricks to doing it? Because I can do it all if I don't sleep, but that's not a good strategy either.
No, then I probably verbally take somebody's head off because I didn't get enough sleep. So
exactly,
it's not a good thing.
Yeah. So do you block out time? My kids kind of force me to block out time. And that is really, really helpful for me because I have a tendency to get a little off balance into, involved in what I do. But what about you? What do you do to stay?
I use that calendar like it's crazy, just blocking out times for certain things. And over the years, I've learned when I put something on the calendar that I need to do, and it could be a walk, it could be meditation, it could be whatever it is, some quiet time just so I could sit and think and process. I have to take that just as serious as I would meeting with any business, meeting that I would normally, bend over backwards to make sure I didn't miss. And it's hard to have that meeting where you can bump it because it's just with yourself, with myself, and it's easy to bump that and fill in something else because maybe somebody needs a favor. But holding on to that for me has been helpful. And personally, I've been working on just sitting in the quiet, which is really hard. And if I can sit on the porch, and I'm not talking about a lot of time right now, just because I'm trying to get my head around it. But if I can sit, for a good 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes and just sit, I've found the answers are there. I just haven't been quiet enough to listen for them. And just sometimes a guided meditation kind of helps with some questions that they ask that I can process. So
that's a really good suggestion. I think I'm going to start doing that too. Whenever I block something out and, for example, exercise with a friend or go walk with a friend or go take a class with a friend, then I do feel obligated to not bail on that person. And that's a really good thing for me because just like you said, it's easy to just, if it's a date with yourself, sometimes it's easy to say, oh, I'll do that later,
Yeah.
So that's a great point. And I love your point about the guided meditation and that the answers are there, but we have to be quiet enough to realize they're there and take that time and really identify what it is that we want. I think I have a little bit of trouble with that because, you know, when it comes to when you have opportunities come to you, sometimes it's for me, because I've been financially insecure many times in my life growing up, as well as in my adult life, my natural tendency is to just say yes to everything and take every opportunity that I possibly can. And what I'm trying to do now is sit and think about that and think, well, what are my real goals? And especially now that I'm in my mid 40s, I think about that a lot more because I can see the time ticker a lot more easily, where I'm like, okay, I've probably got 20 more years in my career. That's not 40. So what do I want to do with the last 20? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So.
I completely relate. I'm at the same age, it sounds like, as you. And just tying this back in, on Monday, I had a lot of stuff on my plate and I'm trying to process it. And the more I thought about it, the more stressed I was getting. And I thought I could listen to a book while I went for a walk, but I had to turn the book off and I had to just walk and be with that, uncomfortable. What am I going to do? Like, this is heavy on me right now. What am I going to do? And halfway through that walk, I just had this moment of clarity, talking about making complex things simple. But I had this moment of clarity, and it was as simple as, what do I want out of this? And when I shifted it to that, I was like, I know exactly what I want out of this. And it felt pretty free to get to that point. And then when I had to have the meeting, like, for some weird universal reason, that's what the other person wanted too. And I've been telling myself these stories that it needed to be really more complex than it was. And really, we did align, but I had to get to the point of, what do I want to do? And how does that work for me? And the rest of it's going to fall into place, which is a big mind shift for me because we only have so much time. So, why am I worrying about everybody else? I need to just focus on, what's going to bring me joy and energy, and how can I be a better person to show up? And it's because I need to identify what it is that I want and be okay with sharing it with others.
I love that so much. I think that, I don't know, I don't want to overgeneralize, but I know a lot of women who are so attuned to other people's needs that we don't really know what we want. We want everyone else to be happy. We want our families to be happy. We want our friends to be happy. We want our boss to be happy. And then we think, well, what will bring me joy? And I think that the older I get, the more I think that that is not a selfish question. Because when you are saying, my mom told me something really insightful a while ago, and she said, just remember, Amy, that when you are saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And you need to be aware of what you're saying no to. And I thought, whoa, that was pretty mind-blowing, Mom. Way to go. But it was, and it's really become a guiding principle in my life, because I do have to think about that. And so when I think about, well, what do I really want out of this? It really helps me understand how I can show up better. And just like you said, be a better person in that area. And then it gives you the opportunity to serve in a way that you couldn't before if you're just saying yes to everything.
Yeah. So this makes me think of, I guess, the first half of life, the first 40 years is, for me, it was these constraints. And when I embraced all these constraints, that's how I could make decisions. And now, we work hard. We're at a good place in life. And I'm used to being in that constraint mindset. And what I'm learning is there's choices out there now because of everything that we've done to lead up to this point. And so I'm shifting from that constraint to choice mindset. And I don't know where it's going to take me, but I just see that shift, and, it takes a little while to get to wherever we're going next.
Yeah, I really love that. And I do think that as you continue to, I think about, what would I tell myself in my early 20s? And I do think that there were a lot of constraints. You kind of have to prove yourself in your 20s. You have to work as hard as you absolutely can. Or if you're entering the workforce in your 40s or or your 50s, no matter what, you have to get in there and kind of prove yourself a little bit. And then those choices start opening up for you. And no matter what industry you're in, no matter what career you choose, when you put your whole, mindset into it and you put all of your effort into it, those choices will open up.
I think it's fantastic.
Mm.
I feel like I could keep asking you questions all day long.
Me too. This is a fun conversation. I love it.
I'm curious. I'm just very curious. You're a columnist for a couple of topics, and I just wanted to share this. And I would love to hear, how did you come about finding these topics and writing on them? And so the topics that I noticed that you write about are love and relationships, senior health, and general health care. Do you mind connecting the dots on those?
Yes, of course. So with love and relationships, that was kind of some me search because I was married once before. And then my husband and I have been married now for 17 years. And so it's always been very interesting to me. I think about, okay, well, what did I do wrong the first time? How do I not do it wrong the second time? And how do I become a better person and understand more about love and relationships? And so that's always really fascinated me. And I'm kind of a romantic at heart, I guess. And so that's just really my more, personal interest. And then on the healthcare side, we have a lot of businesses that we work with over at Stage that are in post-acute care and in med tech. And so as part of the offerings that we have provided for them, it's been necessary for us to really understand what we're doing when it comes to healthcare, really dive deep and embrace the healthcare industry so we can help people position it. And so just as an exercise more on the business side, we've needed to become more adept at understanding the healthcare environment. Plus, I'm also personally interested in that because I have a brother who is a dermatopathologist and who runs his own labs and everything, and he co-founded a med tech business. And then I have another brother who is an endodontist, and I have a sister who's a nurse. And so I'm very proud of my siblings, and I have to be able to talk to them at Thanksgiving and know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
They're
What
great.
about does senior health fall into that then?
Yeah. So senior health care is post-acute care for the most
Post-acute.
part.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah,
Great.
so that's what I mean. I mean, it's not senior healthcare is much more broad, but post-acute for skilled nursing and home health and home care, all of those are post-acute care, and all of that does fall in some way or another, mostly into senior health.
Okay. I've been learning about aging beauties
Mhm.
and just being able to support them emotionally and making sure that they have the conversations that they need so they have great quality of life and continue to live in their own home and take care of themselves. And there's something about that loneliness that impacts them. And rightfully so, but just being aware of it and really aware of it in the community and how do you support that? And so I have a lady that teaches me about that. And she also teaches one of our state senators on that topic and just making sure that it's being addressed. And I think education and communication is really key to sharing these incredible ideas that are out there that may not have been as easy to share in the past as they are now.
I totally agree with that. For 5 years, I did a TV show for Laguna Woods. It's a 20,000 member senior community in Orange County, California. And it was called Good Day Orange County. It was so fun. And I remember one time there was a man in the audience, and we just struck up a conversation, and I said, so why is everybody so healthy here in this active community? Because you had people in their 90s that were just like out playing pickleball. The dating scene in Laguna Woods was unlike, it was like more active than like a college campus, truly. I mean, it was really fun. There was a lot of that dating going on too. And he said, well, here in Laguna Woods, we have 3 mantras that we live by. First, we try to keep on a few pounds. So when we get cancer, we can fight it off. Second, this guy is hilarious. Second, we drink a lot of alcohol. And third, we can't die because our bridge partner would kill us. He was delightful. But there is some truth to what he's saying about the social aspect of it and how important that is. So I really love that.
That is so fun. I love that. That's great advice for like anything, isn't it?
It is. It's great advice.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Amy, is there anything else that we haven't covered yet that you want to talk about today?
I feel the same way as you. I could just talk with you for hours, and I really appreciate the opportunity. It's been such a fun conversation, and I appreciate you having me on.
If someone wants to learn more about you, Amy, where's the best way to go? I know that I'm following you on LinkedIn. I think that's a great outlet.
Yes, I would love that. If anyone would like to follow me on LinkedIn, it's Amy Osmond Cook, and I use my maiden name so people can find me among the thousands and thousands of Amy Cooks that are out there. So
that's fantastic. Thank you. Amy Cook, you are the founder of Stage Marketing, Chief Marketing Officer at Simplex as well. You are found on the web at stagemarketing.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the episode. If you like it, please subscribe, share this episode or this show with other people around you. The greatest form of a compliment is a referral. I really appreciate them. And if you think that you want to learn more about some of the work we're doing, I encourage you to reach out to CatherineCantey.com. You can schedule a call or just continue to read articles and information that we post out there. Thank you so much for being here.